The Raptors fall short against the Cleveland Cavaliers. 105-102 is your final. Welcome to Raptors Tonight. I'm Randy Irvin, joined by Paul Jones, Eric Smith, and Leo Rautins. Fellas, the Raptors look poised for a win in the first half. How did this game slip away? Jonesy, I'll start with you.
I thought they came out a little bit lax in the second half. A couple of empty possessions early, and then you let a guy like Max Strus get going. He gets 2 run-out dunks or run-out layups to start the half. He had no points. He scored 20 on 8 of 10 in the third quarter. I just didn't think the focus was there consistently from the Raptors on the defensive end. Offensively in the third quarter, they shot 6 of 21. Like, it was one of those games where you didn't want halftime to come and slow your roll. And I thought Cleveland kind of regrouped. Give them credit. They did a good job. But I thought some of the actions that Cleveland was running, some of the, the dribble handoff, the guard around stuff, the screen and roll up high that weren't really crushing screens, more kind of ghost screens and brush screens and semi-exchanges. The Raptors weren't guarding that the way they have in the past. Guys were turning the corner. They're getting lobs. Again, kickouts to guys like Strus. I just thought the game for me changed in the third quarter.
Yeah. Leo, just your thoughts on how it slipped away.
I was saying, third quarter was a different quarter. I liked the first half, even though Cleveland got up right at the beginning a little bit. The Raptors played with poise. They played hard. They played aggressive. I thought Cleveland was the aggressor in that third quarter and for most of the second half. They got the Raptors on their heels. They tried to come back and fight here and there, but Max Strus is a good player, but you just can't let him go off like that. Not possible. And some of the pick and rolls and the plays Jonesy was talking about. They had a lot of straight line drives. They turned the corner and went. And if Garland can play that way, you're gonna have real problems. I thought it was a tough matchup for Scotty Barnes. I think Alvin Williams made the point during the game that get off him a little bit. Don't play him as tight. Use your 6'9" in that matchup. If you're going to try to get up on him and play him tight, he's just going to go by you. He's too quick. He's crafty. Does a great job with the ball. And it happened with other matchups on size on the switches or anything like that. So he was a tough load to handle. And I'll tell you who gave him some energy was Tristan Thompson. The old fellow he was a beast on the glass, and he gave them some energy when they desperately needed it.
Eric, your thoughts?
Well, I'll piggyback right there, Randy, because I think Leo said it perfectly. Because what I was going to say was Jarrett Allen going out, 90 seconds, 2 minutes into the third quarter with his fourth foul. Yeah. The Raptors did quite frankly, a terrible job of not taking advantage of that, of not taking advantage of the lack of size on the floor, on both ends of the floor, without Jarrett Allen there as a shot blocking presence, without him there in the pick and roll game. On the offensive end for the Cavaliers, I thought Toronto didn't do enough to expose that. And to Leo's point, they didn't skip a beat, Cleveland, because of the minutes they got from Tristan Thompson. There was one play, Leo, that stands out for me at least, and Randy, where I think it might have been his third or fourth rebound in 4 minutes when he held off Jakob Poeltl with one hand, rebounded an air ball with the other, and then put it back up into the tin and got the bucket for the Cavs. That was just a perfect example of the type of effort and the energy that he was bringing that perhaps the Raptors themselves didn't have.
Yeah, guys, what about the free throw shooting? This is a number of games now where they're missing, 5, 6, 7, 8 free throws in a game. And that makes a difference here when you lose by 3, don't you think, Jonesy?
Oh, absolutely. When Eric and I always say this on the radio, they were 20 of 29 tonight. I believe that was the final number. Yep. I don't want all 9. Give me half of them. Give me 5.
Right.
Give me
4. Give me 4 and you win.
It changes the game. And it's been something that has been a kind of a bad developing trend or continuing trend. Raptors are 28th in the NBA, shooting about 73% from the line. And I know people will point to Jakob Poeltl, but look at the numbers. He's not the only one where it bears out that the free throw shooting isn't great. And, Leo, we talk about this. The same way making shots is contagious, missing shots is contagious too. And then it gets into your head and you're walking to the line thinking like you're putting more pressure on yourself. Like, this is something that I think they can rectify, and that I think they have to change going forward.
Leo, is that a mental thing that you see with free throw shooting? This is, I don't think it's mechanics at this point, right? This has got to be, between the ears.
Well, hey, it's muscle memory, right? It's the same shot, same distance, no defense. And like Jonesy said, it's contagious, right? So one or two guys miss, and another couple of guys miss, and it just seems to happen. Just like passing is contagious, missed free throw shooting is contagious, and so I'd say it's definitely more mental. There's no question
Mhm.
about that. But you work hard to get to the line, right? You do a good job. You get there. You got to make those free throws. As everybody's saying, you make half of your misses, you win the game, right?
Mhm.
Half of them. So it's something you really do got to lock in on and realize, just how important. There's the old idea that it's not the team that makes the most, the team that gets to the most
Yeah.
free throw line, right? It gets to the most shots. But when you do such a good job of getting there, you got to make them. You got to find a way to make them, and you're going to give yourself a lot of opportunities to win.
Eric, when Strus went off there in the third quarter, I kind of felt like the shots were difficult. And the contests were half decent. Did you think that? And what do you think about their 3-point defense overall?
I think a couple of them, Randy, were contested well, no doubt. But I thought overall it was still a little bit too easy. I thought the Raptors kind of were a little flat-footed, and it's not necessarily just one person. I'm not going to single out one guy, but I thought the team just kind of flat-footed overall and a little bit slow defensively in that third quarter. And whether it be the inability to fight through screens or to get up on the shooter, whatever it was, I think it wasn't working. Period for the Raptors, and I just it was completely different what we saw in the third, I think, than what we saw in the first half of the ball game, and the Raptors kind of started to put it together a little bit more there in the fourth quarter. But I mean, listen, Strus had all 20 in the game in that one quarter. They held him the rest of the ball game, 0 for 8, I believe, the rest of the ball game, or 0 for 6 the rest of the game. I just think that even a guy like George Niang, he didn't score a lot, but for a guy with due respect that I think doesn't look like he's in great shape, he was out there hustling, making plays, knocking down some timely shots, and that's what I was looking for from somebody from the Raptors to do it a little bit more consistently. And if a guy like Niang can do it, I think absolutely there's at least one, if not 2 or 3 other guys in Toronto that should be doing the same, playing with that type of required effort.
Well, it's
George,
not only Strus in that third quarter. I mean, Donovan Mitchell was really quiet that first
Yeah,
half, right?
Yeah.
Just his activity was a factor. Not that he played great, but just his activity, being aggressive. He drove the ball. He didn't make them all, but he drove the ball, and that gave them offensive rebound opportunities. And again, the aggression was entirely different or in favor of Cleveland in that second half.
yeah, you mentioned Mitchell, Leo. Jonesy, what did you think about his game? He struggled the last 2 nights. Are you noticing something different about his shot or the way he's playing?
I thought Toronto did a really good job. OG has played him well. Like, you go back and look at
Put the
Donovan
clamps on
Mitchell's
him last year. Yeah.
Yeah, look at Donovan Mitchell's games against Toronto. He's had to work. And, that's a function of before, when Nick Nurse was here and Darko's continued it with long, athletic guys guarding him. And, I also thought the Raptors did a really good job of taking advantage of him early in the game on the offensive end, whenever they got switches. I mean, he was working hard on the ground to try and front and get in front of people and deny. But then the Raptors went vertical. They would they get the switch and they just throw it up to the rim, and Pascal or Yak or whoever he was switched onto. I mean, we always talk about spacing the floor from a lateral sense and spreading the floor. You can spread things vertically too. And I thought the Raptors did a really good job. And Mitchell he was 4 of 17 in the game for 10 points. And if you're Cleveland, you look at that as a win, a boon, the fact that your best player scores 10 points on 4 of 17 and you come away with a win.
Mm-hmm. Leo, the team had a team function last night, a team dinner. Darko mentioned that it allows the team to feel a part of something that's bigger than themselves when he spoke pregame today. It seems like there's some chemistry developing with this team. Despite the loss, they look composed and confident tonight, more or less, outside of that bad third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this team, just in segments over this early season, I think there's an upward trend. I definitely feel that the chemistry is pretty good. I think there's a good synergy between the coaching staff and the players. I think Darko runs his shop a little different than Nick Nurse. There is more of that kind of, I don't know, like a pop factor where dinners and things like that, the social aspect. And I think that does have an impact with players. When you bring guys together, it's not high school, but you still bring guys together. You break some bread, you have a laugh, and the road is a great time to do that, right? You get out on the road and you have opportunities. Hey, think about it. Remember when, with the Raptors, Kyle Lowry, right? Kyle was doing a lot of that, and it brings guys together. So, I think that chemistry wise, coaches, players, I think all that's good. And there's a lot of positives. Obviously, a loss like this is disappointing, but I think I'm seeing more things to get a little excited about than be upset about, versus maybe say a week or two ago.
Eric, with Brooklyn coming up on Tuesday, what are the keys you think going into that one to change the outcome here?
I think the biggest thing, and I don't want to sound cliche, Randy, but it's the 48-minute effort, right? You just proved tonight you can't play well for a half, or you can't play well for 3/4. It's got to be the full 48. And I think the tough thing is, as well, you don't want to look too far ahead of yourself, but you have to realize you're coming home for a pretty tough back-to-back against Phoenix in your joint on Wednesday, and they're rolling right now. They've won 7 in a row after today. You're going to be playing your 3rd game in 4 nights. So if there's one to get in the next 2, it's the Tuesday game. Even though it's on the road, it's going into Brooklyn against a team that I think you should be at least as good as. That's going to be one of those teams that I think you're going to be competing against as the season rolls on. Much like the Cavaliers, you proved you could hang with the Cavs even when you weren't your best, albeit you lost. Now it's time to go prove it and say, yeah, we can deliver the knockout punch to the Nets, get back to 500, and then let it all hang on Wednesday against the Suns.
Randy, I just hope that this team doesn't rue these games that they've given away in October, November. You look back at the Chicago game, you look back at an effort against Portland that wasn't their best, and they gave that one away. Listen, they lost the game tonight. It is what it is. But you dig deeply into that game tonight, you could have easily seen a win for the Raptors on the road. So, like to Eric's point, it's time to get some of these. You have 9 losses now, and 6 of them, as we talked about in the bar on Friday night, 6 of them have been to the top 4 teams in the East. 1 to Orlando, 1 to Milwaukee, 2 to Philly, 2 to Boston. Like, you've lost to some good teams, but the NBA is about looking after business when you feel you're capable of doing that. A game like tonight, the one they get away in Chicago. These are ones that you can't just turn the page, because pretty soon you'll be at the end of the book and you haven't read anything.
All right, guys, great stuff. Going to stop it there. Next game for the Raptors is Tuesday against the Brooklyn Nets. Tip-off goes at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Raptors Tonight will go live on YouTube shortly after the game. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.